The troubles.
Troubles are back, aren't they?
I'm afraid they won't go away this time.
I might need to stick around for a while and see.
Haven is a TV series that ran on Syfy.
Syfy, imagine greater.
From 2010 to January of 2016. With 78 episodes across 5 seasons, the show managed to explore multiple engaging and complex storylines throughout its 5-year run. In today's culture, I think it's pretty safe to say we all have our comfort shows. Haven is definitely one of my comfort shows. I started watching the show in 2012 or 2013 on DVD, before catching up on the first 2 seasons, and then watching new episodes every week as they aired, which in Australia meant watching it on Foxtel On Demand. I don't think I could have predicted how significant the show would become to me and how many times I would rewatch it in its entirety, which, to be clear, is at least 1 or 2 times a year since it ended in 2015. The show, genre-wise, sits somewhere in the sci-fi crime drama categories, most of the early seasons following a crime procedural format with a whole lot of crazy sci-fi stuff mixed in, which in concept makes the show appear to sit with other series like Fringe, Grimm, Warehouse 13, Supernatural, and even Once Upon a Time. However, Haven had something else going for it as well. Stephen King. The show is based on the Stephen King novel, The Colorado Kid. This was a huge factor in the marketing of the show, particularly in the early days. As someone who has read the novel and watched the show, and holds a huge love for both of them, they aren't really the same thing at all. But they kinda are. The show is not an adaptation of the novel, nor does it star the characters from the novel, or follow the main plot of the novel. But in essence, I'd say yeah, it's kind of a show based on the novel. But for now, let's get into the specifics of the show. The show stars Emily Rose as Audrey Parker. Emily, at the time, was probably best known for her role as Elena Fisher in the Uncharted game series.
Elena Fisher, last year's model.
That's cute.
Lucas Bryan as Nathan Warnos, Eric Balfour as Duke Crocker. I personally recognised him from the 2003 Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake. These 3 characters are the DNA of the show, and boy are they just fantastic. You develop such a love for all 3 of them and their ever-changing dynamics throughout the show.
Want to make this easy for me?
No.
The show also has many side characters that are crucial to the story. Vince and Dave Teagues, played by Richard Donat and the late John Dunsworth, and eventually WWE star The Edge / Adam Copeland, which I still find hilarious, but he does actually end up being a really wholesome character. But I'll get into those guys and others as I start the recap episode by episode. The show has 5 seasons, but sort of 6, because the 5th season is split into 2 parts. My plan is to cover 1 season per video, 6 parts in total. The first 3 seasons could honestly work as their own show, and seasons 4 and 5 change things up. I will be using some visual aids, a family tree of sorts, for each of our main trio of characters. Without further ado, here is an unnecessarily extensive breakdown and recap of Syfy's Haven, Season 1. Let's go.
I want to know what the hell's going on around here.
Season 1, Episode 1 is titled Welcome to Haven, and it does just that. We first, however, are introduced to our main character, FBI agent Audrey Parker. Let's pop her on here. Here she is. Here's our girl. Alright. She's awoken by her superior agent, Agent Howard, ready to give her a new assignment. It's very quickly established that Audrey is a workaholic and takes no vacations. She also drops a line that foreshadows her future of solving cases in Haven.
You know, being open to possibilities is how we close cases.
Agent Howard tells her that her new assignment is tracking down a fugitive in a town in Maine called Haven. Next, we see said fugitive speeding through the woods chasing somebody with a gun before he is supernaturally thrown into the air and off a cliff. And thus the series begins. Audrey is next seen driving into Haven before the road cracks open in front of her and she veers off towards a cliff, leaving her car hanging off the edge. Haven is very cliffy. Then we see a beautiful hand knock on her car window. This hand belongs to a beautiful man, Mr. Nathan Warnos. Clap it up for our boy! Can we get a spell check on Warnos? Because that would be awkward. Alright. Here he is. This is Nathan. I love this man. This man is so great. We love Nathan. Nathan gets Audrey out of the car, which then goes off the cliff.
Shame about the car.
It's a rental.
They immediately have some fun dry comedy before he spots her gun and things become hostile. Nathan explains that he works for the Haven Police Department, and Audrey explains that she's FBI. It's fun, it's comedic, it's a great meet cute. We love it.
FBI, who are you?
PD, who are you?
FBI, are you deaf?
They mutually decide to head into town together, and again it's just full snarky, full fun dynamic on display, before Audrey slams Nathan's car door onto his hand.
Didn't feel it.
Tough guy, huh?
Remember the whole Nathan being a tough guy thing for later. Or don't. I'll remind you anyway, so don't worry about it. Audrey asks Officer Warnose if he's seen her fugitive. He gets all cryptic and they drive off towards the crime scene, where we find out that the fugitive is dead, which we kind of already knew because of the whole supernaturally flying off a cliff situation. At the crime scene, we are introduced to Chief Warnose, which, if you're paying attention, is obviously related to Nathan. But we don't have confirmation yet, so he's not going on the tree for right now, but he will. First, we have to get to Audrey being super sus on the dead guy situation because of like how far from the cliff he's fallen. The chief dismisses the weirdness, super similar to how Nathan brushed off like the road collapsing in front of Audrey from earlier.
All your roads this bad?
Sandstone. Likes to shift.
The chief is clearly trying to get the FBI out of town, but Audrey stands her ground and she tells him she has to find out what happened. Nathan offers to show Audrey around and help her out, which is where we discover that the chief is definitely his dad. So let's pop him on. Alright. Chief Warnose, Nathan's dad. Beautiful. However, Nathan only refers to him as the chief, and we find out that their relationship is not very father-son.
What's his deal? Is he testing me?
Not you. Me.
And much more boss and employee. Unfortunate. This is also where we find out that Audrey is an orphan,
So, you're an orphan.
I'm a free agent.
so she won't be getting any parents on here anytime soon. Or will she? So the tree thing, it may seem overkill right now, but trust me, they will become very helpful later, particularly for Audrey. But for now, we know that Audrey's an orphan, so it's just her on here, and Nathan's dad is Chief Warnose. That's all we got for right now. The two of them keep investigating before heading into town, where Nathan mentions that Haven has good pancakes,
Really like pancakes.
which seems like a strange thing for me to note and won't become important till a lot later, but I needed to point it out for right now. Pancakes, just bookmark it. Thank you. We also have to talk about Nathan's car, which is a character in itself, a 1979 blue Ford Bronco, and it's absolutely iconic. Nathan and Audrey also continue to have great banter, and it's just so fun.
How do you keep a car that long?
I don't drive off cliffs.
They talk to a suspect named Conrad about his hat. Yeah, about his hat. They talk to a suspect named Conrad about his hat that they found up on the cliff from earlier, and he's kind of strange and standoffish. Audrey's not about it and just continues to push him for info. Then, a super fun, crazy fog rolls into town and disorients everyone. Conrad disappears and Nathan nearly gets hit by a car, but Audrey pushes him out of the way. Really good stuff. Nathan gets an undisclosed shoulder injury from the incident, and the paramedic on the scene mentions that he needs to go for his 9th MRI and that he's irregular. Audrey then asks him about his condition in which he can't feel pain.
So you seriously can't feel pain?
He calls it idiopathic neuropathy, which essentially just means nerve damage brought on spontaneously with no real explanation. It also initially reminded me of that one episode of House.
It's hard to fake pain when you've never felt it.
This explains his non-reaction to having his hand slammed in the car door earlier. Audrey questions the very odd fog, and once again Nathan just dismisses it.
I've never seen fog like that before.
Maine gets lots of cans of fog.
We love a cheeky gaslight moment. We are then introduced to Vince and Dave Teagues, brothers and owners of the local paper, the Haven Herald. They are a fun and seemingly kooky old couple of folks who make a comment about recognizing Audrey and then head off on a tandem bike. Nathan then reappears, having not gone to the hospital, and calls MRIs overrated. Which I guess if you can't feel an injury, why investigate it? Not necessarily my opinion, but certainly Nathan's throughout the rest of the series. Audrey and Nathan go to talk to Marion, who was seen in the shop front behind Conrad before the whole fog incident. Audrey is once again shown to be consumed by her work in a poorly timed comment.
Twice. Once for a pedophile, the other for a serial killer.
She asks Marion about Conrad and she says he's the gentlest man she's ever met. So there's that. Nathan then gets a call and they head down to the docks. This is where we get our first mention of the show's third main character, Duke Crocker.
Duke Crocker.
I'm not putting him on here yet, we haven't seen him, but he's here. He's somewhere in Haven. The gun from the cliff, the crime scene cliff, actually traced back to Duke, so they head to his house to track him down. Nathan makes it very clear that he's not a fan of Duke.
Oh, you like him for this?
I don't like him, period.
And that he's some kind of petty criminal. Oh, and when I said house, I meant boat. Duke lives on a boat. Duke's not on his boat though, so Nathan says he's going to head out to try and track him down. When we catch up with Audrey next, she has found herself in a spontaneous hailstorm at the docks, and she gets supernaturally thrown into the water. Then she wakes up naked in a bed on a boat. She puts on a shirt and grabs her gun and badge, which were left next to the bed, kindly, and heads out onto the main deck and meets the one and only Duke Crocker. Here we go, it's tree time. Here's Duke. Audrey and Duke have similar banter to that of Nathan and Audrey within their initial meeting, which is also just very iconic. Audrey questions Duke about the gun from the crime scene and he claims it was stolen. To which, once again, Audrey is real sus. She's sus of everyone in this town, which is so fair. Duke claims that he reported the stealing of the gun, and that he knows that Nathan wouldn't have mentioned that to Audrey.
Nathan didn't mention that part, did he?
Once again, Nathan and Duke don't seem to be on the best of terms, for whatever reason. Duke seems to be a much more carefree dude than Nathan, and just pretty much overall the antithesis of Mr. Warnos over here. Audrey and Nathan meet back up at the Haven police station. An iconic set for the series. And Nathan doubles down on Duke being a bad guy. He's just not a good guy, with Nathan not a fan of Duke at all.
I've known him since he was 5. He's all bad.
Audrey then brings up the super strange weather phenomena that's been happening, and Nathan brushes it off. Surprise. Audrey heads out to confront Conrad, and when she does so, Marion comes to his defense before a supernatural gust flies Audrey down the street, and then it starts to snow. Marion runs away, and Conrad admits to murdering the fugitive. He's like, it's me, I've done it. Audrey brings Conrad into the station where Duke has been arrested by Nathan. Audrey explains that Conrad confessed. Nathan still isn't keen on letting Duke go. Duke then gives up some info on the case, and we see our first glimpse of Nathan and Duke's dynamic together, which is sort of like tumultuous sibling energy. Very snarky, Duke is full of sass, and Nathan is just perpetually fed up. It's fantastic. It's also our first scene of the trio all together. Audrey once again tells Nathan that what's going on is not normal, and he shuts it down, saying how unbelievable it sounds.
He blew me down the street.
Blew you down the street.
Vince and Dave visit Audrey at the station and bring her an old newspaper. It has a photograph of a woman who looks a whole lot like Audrey in it. They explain that this is maybe why they thought they recognised her. It's important to note that Vince and Dave give out sus vibes when it comes to recognise Audrey, and just sus vibes all the time. They explain that the newspaper clipping is from 27 years ago. That's also important. Back to the case, Audrey is now convinced that Marion is somehow controlling the weather phenomena. We see that the more upset Marion gets, the crazier the weather becomes. Audrey confronts her and starts to calm her down. Nathan gets shot by a character not important enough for me to mention, but obviously he doesn't feel it and just shrugs it off. These moments of Nathan being numb are just so much fun. Audrey then proceeds to calm down Marion fully, and the crazy weather subsides. Audrey brings Conrad to Marion and explains that she knows he was protecting her the whole time and is probs in love with her. She tells him that he is now the only one that has a chance to keep her calm and stop the crazy weather situation from happening in the future. Audrey then brings some flowers to the station for Nathan and his super shot shoulder. Nathan wakes up from a little nap in the office and recognises the flowers by smell.
Lilies and lilac.
It's very cute. Audrey looks at the newspaper picture again and catches Nathan up on the resolution to the case, explaining that she really believes that Marion controls the weather phenomena. Nathan expresses his doubt once again. He then notes the newspaper as being from the Colorado Kid murder, our first reference to the novel that inspired the show. He also notes that the woman in the picture looks just like Audrey. He questions whether she thinks it might be her mother. For now, I'm going to put her on Audrey's tree as her possible mum. Alright, so we don't have a name for Miss Girl, and we're not sure if she's Audrey's mum, but she could be. So that's where we're at. Nathan and Audrey have a very sweet heart-to-heart about parents and how she wished for parents growing up, and we see a little bit of her vulnerability for the first time. The pilot finishes up with Audrey calling Agent Howard to let him know she's finally going to take her vacation time here in Haven. We then see that Agent Howard is creepily watching her before he calls someone and informs them that Audrey's staying in town and maybe she can help them with their troubles.
Maybe she can help you with your troubles.
What's that? Dunno. Let's move on. That's the pilot, though. Yay! I won't be diving into the rest of the episodes. No, that's a lie. I'm not even going to say that. I do dive deep. I do. Season 1, Episode 2 is titled Butterfly. It opens with a woman leaving a shift at a bar called the Rust Bucket. An angry old man and a kid rock up to collect her. The angry guy yells at the woman for working there. It's a mess. The next morning, we see a butterfly and a big old metal ball just rolling down the streets of Haven before crashing into the Rust Bucket. Then we are treated to the iconic opening credits for the very first time. I love them. They're so vibey. It puts you in the Haven mood. That's all I can say about it. It puts you in Haven. We pick up with Audrey entering the chief's office and quizzing him about the Colorado kid picture, which is the one where we have no. Spoiler, where we have this woman. She's there. We don't know who she is, but Audrey's asking the chief about what's up with that. Nathan enters to tell the chief he's going to check out the Rust Bucket incident, and Audrey insists that she tag along because she doesn't do vacations, as we've established.
Can I come?
Well,
I think it's a good idea.
The two visit the scene and Audrey introduces herself as Officer Parker from Haven PD for the first time.
Agent, Officer Parker, Haven PD, sort of.
The bar owner tells the two about the cranky man from the night before and calls him Driscoll. Nathan recognizes this name, and the two head off to find him. They show up at a church and see cranky man Driscoll performing a christening. Driscoll makes a remark about the ungodly and the troubled.
Steer clear of the troubled and the ungodly.
And Nathan storms out of the church. He's had enough. Audrey follows him and basically says WTF. Nathan says he's got history with the Rev, which is what I'll refer to Reverend Driscoll from now on, because all the characters do. So, the Rev is who he is.
he's a pompous, self-righteous ass.
They head back into the church to question him, and we see some butterflies hung up in his office. When the two begin asking him about the case, he's super hostile and just overall bad vibes. Bad vibe. Hannah and Bobby enter the church, and we discover that Bobby is Hannah's foster son, and Hannah is the woman from the Rust Bucket that was working there, and then the Rev yelled at her because she's his daughter, and then her foster son is Bobby. It's a lot. They need their own tree. They're not getting one, but they could do with one. We also see a little spark of some history between Nathan and Hannah, which Audrey does in fact clock.
Sure, Nathan.
She asks him about it later, and he explains that they have a cute little teenage history together, which would account for the tension.
Meteor showers are better naked.
Nathan Warnos.
Audrey is back at her hotel. This scene. Audrey is back at her hotel, and a butterfly comes in through the window. She lets it out and then is cocooned by a throw blanket.
I was cocooned by a blanket.
Nathan comes to the rescue, and Audrey is understandably frazzled by the ordeal.
You should get checked out.
You know what? I'll live.
She makes the connection about the Rev and the butterflies, and is now convinced that he has something to do with what's going on.
We need to press the Rev, and we need to press him hard.
What are you gonna say? You wrap me up in a cocoon, confess.
Yeah, you might have a point.
The two go visit Hannah and Bobby at a food bank, and Audrey learns that Hannah is fostering Bobby after his parents died in a car accident. Audrey expresses her admiration for Hannah taking in a child without parents, which is nice and sweet, and adds to Audrey's character and the desperation to find out if she actually has family in Haven. Maybe. Who knows? The Rev storms out of his church at Nathan and Audrey, pissed that they are talking to his daughter. Then they see a butterfly land on his shoulder, and hilariously just pull their guns on him because of the butterfly.
Have you both lost your minds?
But soon after the guns are pulled, the Rev is pulled by his necklace and magnetized and stuck to a car before giving us this just wonderful line delivery.
What's happening? My God, what's happening?
The car in front of them then turns on and starts speeding towards the pinned Rev. They manage to free him from his necklace and duck out of the way before everyone gets squished. Audrey once again tells Nathan that shit is crazy in Haven, and he once again is just way too chill about it.
Can you tell me what's going on?
Every town's got a few skeletons in the closet.
Well, this is a big freaking closet.
They visit the Rev later and discover him hella drunk and super unhelpful.
I got nothing to say to you.
He also roasts Nathan about being alone, but Nathan claps back and it's great.
I'm not trying to lose myself in the bottom of a bottle.
Look forward to this. Nathan and the Rev, just the dynamic, the roasts, it's golden. They track down Hannah and Bobby at a science fair. Fun. Bobby hasn't been sleeping and Hannah says that he should catch a few Z's at some point. At the science fair, we discover that Bobby's booth is on butterflies. Nathan and Audrey go looking for him at the school before a butterfly appears and the school goes full Final Destination on the two of them. There's sentient water and sentient electricity. It's a moment. Later, the two revisit the Rev's house and see different objects in Bobby's room that relate to the attacks. They deduce that Bobby sees these things before he dreams, and so when he does dream, they manifest in reality. On their way out of the house, the Rev stops them and remarks that Bobby isn't one of God's people, he's one of Nathan's.
Isn't one of God's people, he's one of yours, Nathan.
Sir? They have a little standoff before Audrey diffuses it, and the Rev says the Troubles are back.
The troubles are back.
Okay, what's that? What's going on there? If you were to play a drinking game and took a shot every time someone said Troubles, it would be lethal. Don't do it. Don't do it. There's troubles in this town. Later, a butterfly appears on the steering wheel of Nathan's car and they both prepare for the worst. The car starts to speed up on its own. Audrey tries to communicate with Bobby in his dream and her and Nathan have some fun banter. Love to see it, always.
Hey, kiddo.
You talking to me?
Bobby appears in the car and Audrey tries to calm him down and stop the car from crashing and killing everyone. It works and Bobby sleeps without any more crazy dream stuff happening. Yay for Bobby. We meet back up with Audrey and the chief. His search into the Colorado kid case has turned up nothing and Audrey insists that they keep looking into it because the woman in the picture might be her mother. The chief is super blunt and dry and somewhat unhelpful, and you can really see when Nathan gets his humour and his mannerisms, which is just a nice little detail.
What is this? A joke?
Definitely not.
The chief offers Audrey a job in Haven PD so that she can keep looking into it, and also because he sees that she is good with the specific type of cases that they come across in Haven. Which, yeah, she's a natural. She's picking it up. She says she'll think about it, and then she goes to meet Nathan. He opens up and tells her about the first time he realised he couldn't feel when he was a kid.
I had blood all over my coat and a bone sticking out of my arm. I never felt a thing.
He then remarks that lots of weird things happened back then, and Audrey asks if that was the Troubles.
The Troubles.
Nathan says that things went back to normal after a couple years.
A couple years later, I got better and stopped hearing about it.
Audrey asks if Nathan thinks that the Troubles are back. Nathan says they are, and he's afraid that they won't go away this time.
They are back. I'm afraid they won't go away this time.
That is more foreshadowing. I've just realised. This show's great. It's so good. Audrey says she needs to stick around and find out if the picture of her potential mother and the Troubles are connected. If it might all be one whole thing together, which surely not. No way! The episode ends with the two of them heading off for pancakes.
Yeah, give me some pancakes.
Love it. Let's move on. Episode 3, titled Harmony, opens up at Haven's psychiatric facility and we see a woman struggling at a piano and her partner trying to calm her down from some kind of an episode. A doctor then spills something on the floor and seems to have a psychotic break out of nowhere and then just throws an orderly across the room. Next we see Nathan and Audrey walking along the pier, sipping coffee like a couple of regular old police detective partners. I love it. They banter about small town cop cases. Then we hear from Dispatch Officer Laverne for the first time, who we never actually see, but is quite a significant character when you think about how often she's around, and she even gets a really cool episode in the final season. So, Laverne's here. She also calls Nathan hun and love and other fun things, which is always fun to see.
Nathan, are you there, hon?
She informs Nathan of the incident at the Freddy.
What's a Freddy?
It's the town's nickname for the psychiatric facility, so it's the Freddy. Anyway. Shit has just fully hit the fan at the Freddy, and the doctor has just lost the plot. Audrey and Nathan incapacitate the doctor, and they discover that 3 patients are now missing from the Freddy. They also banter about the troubles. Nathan suggests that Audrey likes the weirdness and refers to his Bronco as a mystery machine. All good stuff.
You like it. And you run around in the mystery machine.
Nathan and Audrey discover that 2 of the escaped patients are just straight vibing in a woman's backyard on the trampoline and just hanging out with her kid. They're chill. It's fine. Let them stay there. Don't take them back. They're having a good time. Next we see the couple from earlier in their home, but the woman is now just completely sane. She's super chill. She's not having an episode anymore. We catch up at the Freddy, and the escaped patients from earlier seem fine still. They're still chill. They're still fine. And one of them seems to recognize Audrey
Snapdragons.
really briefly before they return to their previous, fully sedated selves and are no longer chill. Well, I mean, they're chill, but not in a fun chill way, in a sad, they're not doing well kind of way. Anyway, the doctor has now returned to his normal self though, so he's back to regular chill. The doctor explains that the last missing patient, Lily, who's the woman from the couple that was at the piano, that's Lily, she has a condition that makes her violent and easily frustrated and fixated on her music and composing, so that could pose an issue. She has run away from her partner now, so she's all by her lonesome. Now with Nathan we get another Duke appearance, which is just as fun as you would expect. Lily's partner, who's named Ray, heads off to find her, and Duke and Nathan discuss Audrey a little bit. Duke makes a creative comment about Nathan's numb condition.
Does she know you're not a real boy?
And then alludes to Nathan being less than perfect also.
Does she know about the things you've done?
That was out of pocket, Duke. You didn't have to do our man like that. That is so rude. Lily's partner tells Nathan that he's found her, so he follows him inside. Next thing we see is Audrey and the doctor arriving at the scene, and everyone has just gone insane, including Nathan, which is unfortunate. He's just quietly holding a lighter to his arm and sporting some just full crazy eye action, and he's really angry about his numbness right now, which is sad. Audrey makes the connection with both incidents and Lily and concludes that it must be her causing this. So Piano Woman is probably causing what's going on, is the consensus that we've come to. Crazy Nathan runs off and Audrey tracks him down at Duke's boat. Nathan is attacking Duke before Audrey tases him. Poor guy. She asks Duke to keep him at the boat and watch him while she finds Lily and solves the case. Duke is less than thrilled about the concept.
I was having such a nice day.
Audrey finds out where Lily and her partner might be, and Nathan regains his sanity. Yay! Duke offers to help the two find the boat that Ray and Lily are hiding out on. He claims that he wants to know what's happening in Haven.
And I want to know what the hell's going on around here.
Which, me too, buddy. We all want to know. Duke helping out on cases is always a very fun fish out of water content, and we get a good amount of it throughout the show, so yay for that.
We're staying here, okay?
They resolve the case by allowing Ray to use his music magic for Lily and the 2 other escaped patients from earlier, far away from anyone who could hear it and then be affected negatively by it and go crazy and have a crisis about how you're completely numb and can't feel anything. The patient who recognised Audrey earlier is now sane again from the music and explains that he sold flowers to a woman who looked just like her in 1983. He remembers that her name was Lucy.
Lucy! I believe it was Lucy!
So we are putting Lucy as the name of Audrey's possible mum. Lucy! She has a name! Oh god. Audrey and Duke have a really nice moment on the dock, and Duke acknowledges that the troubles are back in Haven. So Duke, similar to Nathan, with having that memory of being a kid and then the troubles kind of being a thing with Nathan being numb, obviously Duke has memories of this period as well.
Troubles are back, aren't they?
Audrey heads back out to Nathan and tells him about her Lucy discovery, and the two just share a really nice moment. I can't get enough of it.
Well, maybe you'll fix me someday.
Their relationship is slowly building through scenes like this, and it's so fun to appreciate on a rewatch how significant these little moments are. The closing song is also the song that Lily was struggling to compose throughout the whole episode. It's great. Episode 4, Consumed, opens with Audrey and Duke meeting at the docks. Audrey asks Duke for info on Lucy, if he has any. He has other plans, though, and tells Audrey to get out of work mode and just visit the farmer's market. So random. When she arrives at the farmer's market, she discovers that all of the fruits have instantly gone rotten out of nowhere. Thus, we have another episode of Haven. Rotten Fruit edition, I guess. Nathan arrives on the scene and the two investigate the farms where the produce came from. A chicken farmer creepily hits on Nathan. It's very entertaining.
Not all of mine get caught.
When they return to the station, Nathan has gifted Audrey some hilarious wardrobe to help her look like a local. They banter, of course, before returning to the case.
But I thought I just had to squint a lot and leave out half my words.
Be a start.
They head after some suspects that own a bistro on the waterfront. This bistro will eventually become a huge set for the show. I actually forgot that it started out as this from a Case of the Week episode. Nathan and Audrey think maybe the produce is being poisoned to hurt the bistro, having a big old grand reopening shenanigan. Shenanigan? Shindig. They're having a shindig. Duke then shows up at the bistro and delivers a mystery crate to the owners, because that's sort of what he does for a job. He's a smuggler. Anyway, he appears to have a relationship with the bistro owners. Audrey and Nathan head back outside, and dead birds start raining down from the sky. So... Later that night, Nathan and Audrey sit at a table together at the restaurant and suss out the state of the food at the grand opening shindig. They have such a fun, bantery married couple energy, and it really starts to shine in these early episodes. I just am obsessed.
I'm gonna have a theory.
Surprise.
You're not gonna like it.
Surprise again.
It's no surprise that the food starts to rot just on the plates in front of them at the grand reopening shindig. They still can't make a connection as to how it's all happening, though. Like, they don't have a possible troubled person. Is that a term I've used yet? Am I just spoiling things? I don't know. They don't have a suspect yet. When the restaurant owner shows up dead randomly, they question Duke to ask him if he knows anything. We find out that Duke and the owners have a much closer relationship and have known each other since they were kids. So that's sad. I'm sorry, Duke. Nathan keeps investigating and Audrey attempts to comfort Duke after losing his friend.
It's nice to see another side of Officer Agent Parker.
And their relationship starts to grow here.
It's a shame you're a cop.
And why is that?
I don't usually socialize with cops.
Nathan and Audrey solve the rotting food case later. It's not important. And then Duke's other childhood friend that's not dead gives him the deed to the bistro, like the restaurant. Like, he just owns it now. Which is good, but it is very strange, and I forgot that this is how we got here. We pick back up with Audrey and Nathan at the police station, and Audrey is sporting all of the random local attire that he gifted her in the beginning of the episode. She remarks about the complexities of Haven and Nathan's connection to it and its many mysteries. The two then share a classic moment of wholesome banter, and the episode closes out.
This is one of those times where you need to say absolutely nothing.
Episode 5 is titled Ball and Chain. The episode opens with Vince and Dave fishing before discovering a dead body, because Haven. Nathan and Audrey arrive at the scene and have one of their signature walk and talks, teasing one another and just exuding chemistry. It's flowing. It's getting going. I'm ready. Let's see it.
You golf.
Indeed I do.
You're a golfer.
I am. What, you don't have any hobbies?
Yeah. Crime scene.
Oh, sounds relaxing.
The dead guy seems to be super old, and they at first suspect that he's just a dude that died of natural causes, but no. Of course not. Vince and Dave claim that he looks older than he did when they first found him, so he's just aging. He's just getting old. Really, really quick. Audrey takes the time to ask them about Lucy, but they are unhelpful. Surprise. The harbour master, Beatty, she's named Beatty, I guess it's Beatrice? She walks up to the scene with a baby and explains that she adopted him recently. Nathan interacts with the baby and it's just great. These lighter moments are so much fun, especially in the early seasons because they are much more abundant.
Okay, who are you and what have you done with my partner?
We get less happiness as the show goes on. Back to the dead guy, though. Audrey notes that there's a strange tattoo on the inside of his forearm. Why did I say tattoo like that? Audrey notes a strange tattoo on the inside of his forearm. This tattoo and its appearance on the show would also make a really dangerous and lethal drinking game. Audrey says that she's going to head to Duke's new place and ask around about the dead guy. And by Duke's new place, I mean the restaurant waterfront bistro that he randomly got gifted at the end of last episode. Nathan says he'd rather not tag along, and Audrey asks him when the two of them are going to stop hating each other, if ever.
Why even talk about it? You know, it's going so well between you two.
Duke's new restaurant/bar is just popping off. He insists once again that Audrey should stop working for a moment and enjoy herself.
Worry about you. All you do is work.
She entertains the idea and the two chat and have a little moment. Duke offers to make her dinner if she takes a day off. She doubts that he'd be able to stick to such a plan, and he bets that she'll cancel before he does. So we've got a little bet going on. Nathan and Audrey discover that the dead guy couldn't have been as old as he looked when he died. Weird. They talk to the coroner and she confirms that he was a guy in his 30s that died of old age. She says he was aging extremely rapidly before he eventually died. He just was 30 and then he was 100.
Thing that can explain that kind of aging?
No, there isn't, but this is Haven, isn't it?
Before they can process the weirdness, an old guy walks up that Nathan recognizes from high school, also rapidly aging before dropping dead. Very Haven stuff. This second dead guy, Audrey recognizes from the night before at Duke's bar, and she saw him making out with a woman in the corner.
I think it's very sweet that you still say making out.
They discover her name is Helena and set out to track her down. Audrey forgets about her dinner with Duke and keeps working the case instead. Duke says, "I told you so," he's won the bet, and he keeps saying to Audrey that she needs to stop trying to save the world.
Better go save the world, Officer Parker.
Audrey and Nathan find a suspect, and we are treated to this super fun moment.
Don't make me chase you.
Duke is now drinking alone at his bar. Poor guy. But Helena shows up, and she turns his night around. So if he can't get a date with Audrey, he's still gonna get some. Duke wakes up the next morning and goes about business as usual, but seemingly a little under the weather. He calls Audrey and Nathan for help as he continues to get kind of sick, and it's like a little bit of a worry. When they arrive, he's aging rapidly. Oh no. Audrey gives Duke a brief explanation of what's happening, and his reaction is just great and so fair.
This woman has been sleeping with men every Friday night and somehow aging them.
Oh.
Nathan roasts him a little about sleeping with a random woman, and he bites back, which is also fun.
You went home with her just like that.
No, Nathan, first I passed her a note in study hall.
Duke explains that Helena put him under some kind of seduction hypnosis, which is a fun thing that she can do, I guess. The trio stick together for the rest of the episode to try and save Duke. The three working together and bantering is some of the strongest stuff that the show has to offer overall. I love it. The trio discover that Beatty is also Helena, and she sleeps with men, becomes pregnant like instantly, and as she rapidly grows closer to giving birth, the life is sucked out of the fathers. So Beatty turns into Helena, and then sleeps with people. It gets like a super quick pregnancy time, and as that happens, the father of the baby starts to get super old really quick, and then once she gives birth, they die. Is basically what's happening. Works well also as a PSA against one-night stands. Duke and Nathan share a moment when he thinks he's going to die, and it's very sweet. They share their feelings more truthfully. Nathan tells Duke he's not going to die today, and that when he does, it's going to be because he kills him himself.
When you die, it's gonna be because I killed you myself.
As Duke is dying, Nathan tries to keep him alive. They discover that as long as neither parents go near the baby, Duke won't die. So let's just get the baby out of here. It's a super bittersweet ending, and one of the more morally complicated endings of an episode. It actually has repercussions for the rest of the show and the characters. Like, Duke has a daughter he can just never see. Let's update his tree. Let's do that. It's a sad tree now, but it's a tree nonetheless. Okay, so here is Helena and the baby that we haven't had a visual on yet, so I'll update that momentarily. That is so crazy. Like, Duke just has a kid now. It's not talked about enough on the show, but when it is, it's like, oh yeah, that happened. That did happen. That's it. Poor Duke. I'm gonna say poor Duke a lot. I really am. Because poor Duke. And I think this is the start of just the worst shit just constantly happening to Duke for the rest of the series. Also, we do get a shot of the baby because Audrey took like a sneaky pic on her phone. And his daughter is named Jean. So now I really am going to add her here. Let's pop little baby Jean on here. Duke's actual child that he can never have any contact with. I guess her last name's Crocker? Yeah, Jean Crocker. They put her up for adoption. I don't know if I mentioned that. So I guess her last name will be something different later. But for the sake of the series, it's Jean Crocker. Here she is. It's a little phone pic that Audrey took. That's it. That's all we ever see of Jean. But she exists. And we're not going to forget it. We're not going to forget Jean. On a sad note, that's episode 5. Episode 6 is titled Fur. And yeah, there's a bit of it in this one. The cold open is a guy from the local hunting club getting killed in his car. The usual stuff. Audrey has a moment where she feels like an outsider in the town again, but realistically she hasn't actually been there all that long.
God, why does everything in this town have to be such a huge secret?
But this is a plot point for the episode, but it does feel a little weird, because she's maybe a few weeks? A month? Not that long. It's okay, babe. Our favourite crime-fighting duo rock up at the scene, and it seems initially just like a regular animal attack. Nathan does make a deadpan werewolf joke, though.
Full moon last night.
Oh, look at you, trying to make a werewolf joke.
And I love it. I love him.
You know, you should smile more often. People will know when you're joking.
Probably.
I love him. If that wasn't clear, I love him. While investigating, Audrey gets to win a pissing comedy? Pissing contest. Okay. Audrey gets to win a pissing contest against some dudes. It's so good. There is no limit to our girlie's skill set. Like, she is just on another level. Nathan then has to get the hunt club folks to stand down from going on a hunt in the woods after a wolf, which they think attacked old mate in the car. Nathan and Audrey have their doubts that it was actually an animal though, because Haven reasons. Vince and Dave provide some info on the case, specifically about a woman named Jess, who's an animal rights activist who the hunt club are not a fan of, obviously. Another guy gets killed by an unseen force. Now Nathan and Audrey are getting kind of serious about the werewolf theory.
Are you stuck for silver bullets?
Funny.
I'm not sure that was a joke.
That's something we have to do in Haven. Seriously consider werewolves. Maybe. Who knows? The aforementioned Jess becomes a suspect and the duo pay her a visit. She's a little bit of a sassy queen. I do kind of vibe with Jess. She also flirts with Nathan and he doesn't seem to hate it. Okay. She refers to the troubles as magic and tells Nathan that his numbness is magic too.
You've been transformed by magic. You're not less, Nathan. You're more.
So, Audrey suspects that Jess is causing the animals to attack people. Nathan's not keen because he's kind of crushing low-key. So he's like, no, it wasn't her. I like her. The Hunt Club and Haven PD head out to the woods to find the wolf that they think is responsible for the attacks. When they get attacked themselves by a moose, I think, they shoot it, but it's actually stuffed. It's a fun little Haven twist for ya. After this, they visit the Haven Hunt Club and see a bunch of stuffed, hunter animals. And a stuffed wolf is in there, and it has some blood in its mouth. They find out that the hunters that killed the animals are being hunted by their stuffed bodies. Redemption for the animals, I guess? They discover that the dude who stuffed the animals is probably responsible for bringing them back to life. Which, yeah, that tracks. When they confront him, his mother shows up and tries to attack them, but cuts her son accidentally in the fray, and we discover that he too is stuffed. This human man is stuffed. So it's actually the mother who has the trouble, and whatever she stuffs comes back to life. Good stuff, including people, which is cute. The case resolves by all of the stuffed animals, mauling the woman to death. It's a real all loose ends kind of tied up situation. The stuffed man struggles with his reality and Nathan comforts him.
But Nathan...
by sharing his trouble and they bond.
I can't feel that.
It's a little dramatic.
But you know what? Doesn't make us any less than anyone else.
I kind of love it. Nathan revisits Jess from earlier, little sassy Jess, and they talk about him being different, and he invites Jess for pancakes, which feels like a bit of a betrayal to Audrey, but I'll get over it, I guess. The two agree to a date, so I'm gonna put Jess as a romantic interest for Nathan on his tree. I don't think Jess has a last name. She probably does. Doesn't matter for my purpose here. There she is. Nathan's got a little love interest. Why does... He's looking a little unfortunate. Yeah, that'll do. So later, Audrey struggles with what to say in the police reports about the case because of obvious reasons about people being stuffed. She also mentions that the woman with the trouble was also stuffed. I think this is the first mention that we get of the fact that troubles are passed down through generations. So someone stuffed this woman and then she stuffed her son. If this man that was stuffed was to stuff something, it would also come to life. Because troubles are passed down generationally. That's important. Troubles are hereditary. Episode 7 is cutely called Sketchy. The cold open sees some douchey dudes on a boat, and a girl named Vicky is working as the deckhand, which is a term that I learned because of this show. Deckhand? Vicky steps out onto the deck, and then one of the douchey dudes on the boat just starts snapping. I really don't know how else to describe it. The victims in this episode are pretty brutally attacked, actually. It's fun stuff. Jess, she's at the station and she is talking to Nathan. He is clueless to the fact that she's asking him out. Audrey has to lend a hand and wing woman him, and it's adorable. Nathan's very awkward and we love to see it.
Maybe you can bring a nice bottle?
Of wine.
No, antacid.
He's so cute. I love this man. Nathan and Audrey arrive at the scene of the folded douchey dude from the boat. They talk to Vicky, who is the deckhand and also the only witness to the snapping of this man, and she's understandably traumatized by the incident. Nathan and Audrey debrief the case and discuss the medical examiner, Eleanor, is being sus about the nature of the attack.
I'm pretty sure Eleanor winked at me.
What? She winked at you.
There was winkage.
So Eleanor's kind of an important character for this season. She's the medical examiner. Keep that in mind, loosely. Then they visit Duke's bar, and it's always such a pleasure to hear from Duke.
Haven's finest ass. And it would still work for both of you. Just in different ways.
He's not in this season as much as I wish he was. He's just such a good time when horrible traumatic things aren't happening to him. Then he's allowed to have a good time. Duke is unhelpful to the case, but nonetheless, it's great to see him. We get another victim who has been sliced now. That's really, again, the only way to describe it. He's been sliced to death. Audrey interrogates a suspect, trying to get him to, attack them again. Nathan is less than thrilled by this tactic of just using themselves as bait.
Wow, it's damn near scientific.
Later, Audrey tries to get Nathan to open up a bit more. He's numb, in all senses of the word. They ask Jess for help with the case, later on, and she brings a tranquilizer gun. It's very random. While Nathan and Audrey are talking to the suspect, his mouth just disappears from his face, followed by his eyes. They just disappear. Eleanor, the coroner / medical examiner who I mentioned before, she offers some insight into the troubles for Audrey. She gives a little bit of exposition. Thank you, Eleanor. The newest suspect in the case is Vicky, the deckhand. They visit her place and find a work shed of sorts filled with her art. Audrey finds a sketch of Nathan and then she taps it and Nathan flies across the room. Audrey comes to the conclusion that Vicky's artwork is essentially voodoo drawings.
We should, but for what?
Illegal manufacture and use of voodoo drawings?
Vicky is being forced to make drawings by one of the douchey dudes on the boat who is using the drawings to attack and kill and snap and slice people. So that explains that. It's not actually Vicky, she's drawing them, but then someone else is shredding them and folding them. We learn that her first sketch of something is the only one with voodoo capabilities, so like she can't like redraw someone and then have it work again. It's only the first sketch. Duke ends up coming through for the duo and saving the day. Eleanor hypes up Audrey again about being really great with the troubles. It's nice. Thanks, Eleanor. Nathan heads back to Jess and gets over his nervousness, and Audrey is hanging out with Duke at his bar, thanking him for his help on the case, and they share some flirty conversation. And that's it for this episode. Episode 8 is Ain't No Sunshine, and it opens with a guy being attacked and killed by a shadow. Jess and Nathan are hanging out and being real cute. She invites him over that night. In the meantime, Audrey and Nathan head to the case of the shadow murdered man, and Audrey grills Nathan about the progression of his and Jess's relationship. Nathan avoids the topic. He's not down for this conversation. We get our first appearance of Stan, the Haven police deputy. He is an icon. Audrey encourages Nathan to give him and Jess a real shot, which is cute. And then Nathan quizzes Audrey about not really being all that great at making friends.
Do you have friends?
I mean, I guess I never had time for them.
It's kind of a roast, Nathan. Jess is running a support group for people grieving at the medical centre. That's what she's doing. People from the support group fully believe in like a dark shadow man, urban legend situation. Audrey and Nathan are investigating at the station, and Jess drops off some food. Audrey makes it awkward. We love to see it. Nathan seems to be struggling with the physical intimacy part of dating. Audrey is still wing-womaning though. Next, we get another shadow victim. There's a weird bit in this episode where Audrey can't remember anyone's name.
Thanks, Tony. Steve?
Eddie.
Damn.
It's sort of related to Nathan roasting her about not making friends easily. I don't love it, but it's humorous and sort of gets the point across that she's really never been good at making friends or maintaining relationships. It's kind of strange though. I feel like Audrey would remember people's names. She cares about people. Later, Audrey really pushes Nathan to open up about his hesitancy with his relationship with Jess, and then he actually does open up, and it's very funny.
I don't know if I can make it happen.
Make what happen? Oh.
But it's also very sweet.
I can't even feel my own damn skin. I can't feel her skin. I don't know what else I can't do.
He takes Audrey's advice and goes to Jess and tells her about his concerns. We love communication. Thank you. This scene is so good at making you love Nathan.
My stomach feels like when my dad caught me with a girl.
I love Nathan. This scene is good at making you love Nathan. The psychology of him struggling with being completely numb really gets explored here, finally, and it's so effective for his character development. It also makes for some real big payoff real soon, so look forward to that. Meanwhile, Audrey, Vince, and Dave get attacked by the Shadow Man at the police station. Not so fun for them. Things seem to be going well, very well even, with Nathan and Jess until Audrey calls him for help with the Shadow Man situation at the station. Later, Audrey does apologise for the cock block, so...
I was about to.
I'm sorry again. Sorry.
That's considerate of her. Jess makes a discovery about the case from her support centre people, and then that makes the Shadow Man, head after Jess. She's the new target to get murdered by a shadow. Nathan and Audrey head off to save her, but Nathan gets all cranky and frazzled because of Jess being put in danger. This is actually a character trait that remains consistent throughout the series for Nathan, which is nice, that it's not just a strange outburst.
Nathan, that is a bad idea.
Yeah, maybe, but it's what I'm doing, so you can come or not.
It's consistent. They solve the Shadow Man trouble, and Nathan visits Jess with flowers after the attack. Cute. What's not so cute though is that he discovers that Jess is just fully moving away because of Haven's craziness.
What's going on?
I'm going.
It's real rough on our poor boy. He's been through a lot this episode. It's been a roller coaster for Nathan. When Nathan and Audrey meet back up later, she tells him that she has a friend now, and so does he.
But I do now. And so do you.
I love them. Then, possibly the most iconic moment of the show happens. Audrey kisses Nathan on the cheek, and he feels it. He feels it. This man is numb and he feels Audrey kiss him on the cheek. It's so good. He doesn't tell her about it though. He doesn't say, oh my god, I just felt you. He's been through a lot this episode. Episode 9, titled As You Were, is essentially Haven's Cluedo special. It's a good time. It opens with Duke taking Audrey somewhere undisclosed on a boat. He won't say where they're going or why they're going there. It's an island of sorts on the coast of Haven with like an old mansion style hotel situation belonging to a historic family from Haven called the Carpenters. When Audrey and Duke step inside, our familiar gang of characters jump out and surprise her because it's Audrey's birthday. I also need to highlight our favourite guy being just the most wholesome ever. So wholesome. Look at that. Audrey gets emotional about the whole situation, which is so fair. This is so sweet. I'd cry. I would cry. Then Duke, though, tells her that crying will not be tolerated.
Crying will not be tolerated.
Shut up. I am so armed.
Audrey's grateful because no one has ever thrown her a birthday party before. Our poor girl. Never. With the crew is Eleanor, our medical examiner, and her daughter Julia, who we are only just meeting now. Her and Duke apparently have a little bit of history. Duke's got history with everybody. Duke's been around town. Nathan arrives bearing all of the gifts, and Audrey checks on him since the whole Jess ordeal.
I'm good. Drink Jack out of the bottle, listen to Patsy Cline, it's a man thing.
Then an old man enters the festivities. It's the last remaining carpenter from the historic Carpenter family from Haven. He owns the place now, and he instantly recognizes Audrey as the spitting image of Lucy Ripley.
I'm sorry?
Lucy Ripley. You look exactly like her.
And with that, we have a last name for Audrey's possible mother, so I'm going to pop that. Okay. Lucy Ripley. Still possible mother. We don't really know what's going on with Lucy, but she's a thing. Old Man Carpenter explains that Lucy was an old friend of his. Then the power goes out temporarily, and Mr. Carpenter heads out to fix it, much to Audrey's dismay because she wants to know more about Lucy. She wants to hear more about her, obvious reasons. But then we discover that Mr. Carpenter is actually a super sus dude with wobble skin, is how I'm going to describe it. Duke then mentions that he got Audrey a gift and he wants to show it to her, but she's real distracted and just wants to go talk to Mr. Carpenter about the Lucy situation. Later, Julia discovers Mr. Carpenter's skin on the ground. His skin just on the ground in the basement. That's a fun thing to find. The chief, who is also here, says that Mr. Carpenter was a chameleon / shapeshifter.
A chameleon. And it's now shed Von Carpenter's form.
Fun. But what's not fun is that this now means that Mr. Carpenter is wearing one of the group's skin, which also means that one of them is dead.
One of us is a killer. One of us is dead.
This is not the first time that skin wearing happens in the series, so that's something we can all look forward to. The chief says that he has come across this before, and the chameleon kills people after learning to mimic them, and then slowly gets better at disguising itself before killing someone new and wearing their skin next. It's very creepy, very fun. Vince reveals that he knew Lucy too. Audrey is oddly chill about the fact that he never told her. She does eventually start to get really pissed at Vince and Dave for not telling her anything, but right here she's kind of like, oh, that's fun information. Be mad, Audrey. They need to tell you these things. Conflict in the group starts up pretty quick as they start to suspect who the killer is that's wearing one of their now dead friends. Audrey comes up with a plan to get people to prove that they are themselves and not the shapeshifter / chameleon. If they know what's in the gift that they brought Audrey, it's likely that they aren't the killer, I guess. It's a plan that seems to make sense in the moment. Nathan, unfortunately, gets his gift wrong, and now the whole group are convinced that it's him. The chief just knocks his son out, and they just tie him up. They're like, it's Nathan. It's Nathan for sure. Nathan then wakes up and gets to explain to everyone that Jess actually picked up the gift and got something different for Audrey than what Nathan told her to get.
She must have seen the scarf and changed her mind. She didn't tell me.
So that's super orkies, because then they didn't get to discuss it because she just left. After this explanation, Audrey now believes that Nathan is Nathan and she unties him. This is a little bit important for later. Then the lights go out again and just everyone scatters, because that's a good idea, to just run around and split up. That's a great idea. Because of this great idea, we discover that Eleanor has been thrown down the stairs and killed. R.I.P. Eleanor. Later on, Nathan notices the rope that's still kind of hanging off the chair. Because of this reminder, Nathan realizes that when Audrey untied him, he couldn't feel her.
You trust me?
Yeah, of course I do.
He pulls her aside and just kisses her out of nowhere, which is exciting, but also not, considering the circumstance, because then he just pulls a gun and shoots her in the chest. It's so, shocking and quick. He's very confident about it, though, obviously. He tells the dying chameleon that's wearing Audrey that it killed his friend and he's real sad about it. The chameleon then explains that it went after Audrey specifically because it thought that she could help it like Lucy did 27 years ago. It then explains that when it disguised itself as Audrey, somehow she didn't die? That's super weird, right? The group now race off to find out where the chameleon has hidden Audrey. When they do find her, she gives us a nice little callback to Duke's comment from earlier when she sees how upset Nathan is.
Are you crying? This crying will not be tolerated.
Because our boy is real upset. I should probably mention there's weird cracks happening. They've been happening since the pilot, the crack in the road that sent Audrey off the cliff, and then that's how we met Nathan. I'll bring it up again when it's more important, but just know that it's happening kind of peripherally. There's cracks. Duke finally gets to give Audrey her present, and it's a necklace that belonged to Lucy Ripley.
L.R.
Lucy Ripley.
Duke tells Audrey that Lucy gave him the necklace and that he's the little boy in the Colorado Kid picture that's next to, standing next to Lucy. Again, could have shared that information just a little bit earlier, Duke. Just a little bit. Episode 10 is The Hand You're Dealt, and I've just realised that I should probably take Jess off of Nathan's tree. She never comes back. Thanks, Jess. It was nice knowing ya. We open the episode with Audrey and Duke at a high school. She rightfully digs at him, finally, for not mentioning knowing Lucy earlier.
The woman in the photo who could be my mom. And then after all of that, you tell me you were in the picture.
Okay, that may have been unfair.
Yeah, you think?
Finally, people are getting some repercussions for just not telling Audrey really important information. He's bringing Audrey now to see his old babysitter, Vanessa, to see if she knows anything about Lucy because she's also in the picture. This newspaper picture? Colorado Kid murder. We're following? Beautiful. Duke also mentions that he can't remember anything from the morning of the Colorado Kid murder. Vanessa also can't remember anything. That morning, wiping people's memories. Duke offers to continue to help Audrey look into it though, despite the lack of memory on everyone's part. Next, we see Vanessa shoo some kids out of her office and then have a really strange reaction after placing a hand on one of them. Then another staff member touches her arm and she has a similar reaction again. Vanessa starts running after this woman, warning her not to get in her car. The woman does get in the car though, and then it blows up, killing her. Cue the opening credits, baby. Let's go. Audrey and Nathan are back and as bantery as ever.
Unless there's foul play.
Okay, no one says foul play anymore.
Audrey is distracted and not interested in the car blowing up situation because she's kind of trying to figure this situation out right here. Nathan gets her attention back onto the case and then they high five. This is of note because Nathan has a little reaction to feeling her hand. I always love these scenes of him suddenly being able to feel something. It's so cute. Duke shows up at the station to take Audrey on more investigating endeavours. Nathan is just as thrilled as ever to see Duke.
Please, take him. Go.
Fine.
Audrey checks in with Nathan later on because he's kind of acting a little bit strange since figuring out that he can feel her touch and only her touch, nothing else. Next, we see Vanessa again, panicked at a public pool. The schoolboys that were interacting with Vanessa earlier, they're at the pool, and then one of them ends up boiling to death in there. Like, this kid just gets cooked in the public pool. Vanessa was, like, begging them to, like, get out of the pool before the boiling happened. So that's interesting. Nathan and Audrey have some charged chemistry at the crime scene, and Nathan awkwardly, like, initiates a handshake just so he can, like, feel her touch again. It's adorable. Duke shows up at the station looking for Audrey again, but runs into Nathan, of course.
Kinda busy here, Duke.
You say that as if I come here looking for you ever.
And we get this really great interaction.
Is it weird to hook up with your old babysitter?
You're kidding, right?
No.
I don't have time for this.
Then Duke recognizes Vanessa from a sketch that's being looked into as a suspect. So Vanessa is on the suspect list now. Duke invites Vanessa to his bar to talk about this situation, and we find out that it's called the Grey Gull, or just more commonly the Gull. And I think this is the first time we hear its name. Duke's bar on the waterfront is the Gull. It's the Grey Gull. Duke asks Vanessa about the sketch situation, about her being a suspect in multiple murders. Vanessa flees and brushes past a couple people, like touches them inadvertently, and she gets all weird and like freaks out again after making contact. Duke offers to help her, but she says he can't touch her. So she's got a real thing about touch. That's a theme this episode. It's touch. Audrey recognizes Vanessa from the sketch later on at the station, and so they go visit her place, but they find Duke there instead. They also find like a bunch of like weird suspicious drawings like all around her house. And so now they're just convinced that she's the killer. Like, it's definitely Vanessa. The trio track down Vanessa, and then she tells them that there's going to be an explosion and another schoolboy is going to like get blown up, so they should probably like sort that out. They stop the explosion from killing another child, and Vanessa explains that when she touches someone, she sees what they are going to see before they die. That's a really fun thing to experience, I'm sure. Vanessa says she touched a mirror and saw her own death in an impending disaster. So like she knows it's coming soon. Also, these visions cause her pain, which explains like her weird behavior and reactions from earlier. Vanessa insists that she can't do anything to stop the deaths from happening. Audrey says we can change our fate, which is, again, really beautiful foreshadowing.
We can make our own fate.
Vanessa tells Audrey that she saw how the Colorado kid was gonna die. Audrey spells out for the first time explicitly that stress and emotion can trigger someone's trouble to start or like return. I think that's the first time this is mentioned. It's like a stressful or like traumatic situation can cause a trouble to come back.
Vanessa, when troubled people get upset, the shock, it triggers their affliction.
So that's fun. Nathan opens up to Duke a bit about feeling Audrey's touch, but without really explaining it explicitly. He wonders out loud if their connection might be fate.
Seems like fate, doesn't it?
Again, we love the foreshadowing. It's all about fate, baby. Vanessa tells Audrey that her vision of the Colorado kid's death was a man's hand coming towards him with a tattoo on the inside of his forearm. I don't actually think this is consistent. But we'll get into that way later seasons. But I don't think that that is consistent, but I could be wrong. The boys make the connection of Vanessa's past visions to an outdoor theatre situation. Nathan makes this snarky comment to Duke.
You're tall and loud.
It's a boy from the school that's causing the explosions, by the way. The trio evacuate the location. Audrey confronts the boy and tells him that he's causing the explosions, and instead of being freaked out, he like burns her a little and gets excited about his trouble.
This is awesome.
No.
So that's a little bit of a worry. Vanessa, however, gets more than a little burnt. Duke carries her out of the situation. Nathan and Audrey try to stop the kid, but he starts to burn their guns. Nathan doesn't feel it though, so Audrey has to help him out with that one.
Nathan, put it down, it's burning.
Then Audrey decides to just straight up goad this guy into blowing himself up. It's pretty dark.
I killed him.
Actually, Vanessa is dying in Duke's arms now and tells him how he's gonna die, which is a really fun thing to do. The trio and Julia are chilling at the Gull. Nathan is sporting a bandage because he held on to the gun longer than Audrey, which is a really nice detail. Consistency. He's also still obsessing over his numbness and lack thereof when it comes to Audrey. Very fair. Again, this is a lot for him, this is a lot for me. The whole gang cheers to just screwing fate and doing their own thing. Along with foreshadowing for the rest of the series, the fate talk is also really relevant to like the episode title and like the whole theme of the episode. I think it's really cohesive as an episode. It's nice. These connections with like the trouble of the week to like the overall story and things actually get a lot more creative and relevant to the story as the series goes on. Like they get a lot better at that, which is nice. Out of nowhere, Nathan just asks Duke how he's going to die. He's like, well, if you know, I think we should know. Duke explains that Vanessa told him that a man with a tattoo on the inside of his forearm is going to kill him.
Some guy with a tattoo, a maze with 4 little people at each of the compass points, grabs my face with his hand.
The same vision that she saw for the Colorado kid is also apparently how Duke's going to die.
She had a vision of a Colorado kid before he died, and it was of this man's hand.
Nathan and Audrey also recognize the tattoo description that he's giving them from the old dead man case where Duke ended up with a baby. That same episode where the first dead guy had the tattoo. So Duke then decides that he's going to kill this tattooed guy before he can kill him.
Because I'm gonna find them first.
That is one way to solve your impending death, Duke. Go for it, buddy. Episode 11 is the trial of Audrey Parker. Duke, Audrey, and Julia, and a couple of Duke's smuggling business partners are all on his boat playing poker. One of the dudes is sort of eccentric, I guess you would say, and insinuates that he can read people really well. Agent Howard, Audrey's FBI boss man, he shows up at the station looking for her. Out of nowhere. Hi, sir. Where have you been? Duke refers to Nathan as Audrey's wifey, which is fun.
What are you gonna call a wifey?
And I had to mention it. Then one of the other poker guys randomly points out...
Same-sex marriage is illegal in the state of Maine. Is she from Vermont? Because it's legal in Vermont.
This is 2010, I guess. It's upsetting. Agent Howard ends up finding Audrey on Duke's boat, so he's here. He's chasing her up about sending the FBI reports on what she's been doing in Haven. He asks her to explain what's been going on. It's not an easy task, let me tell you. Audrey tries to explain some of the phenomena.
There was a kid whose nightmares came true.
Interesting.
Isn't this the part where you call me crazy or a liar?
Howard points out that none of this is in her official police reports. Then they get locked below deck. Back at the station, there's tension between the chief and Nathan. Nathan finally lets off some steam about his dad's lack of communication in regards to the troubles, specifically Nathan's.
You knew they were back. You knew I had this, whatever this is, and you never said anything.
This is a really great scene and establishes so much about their relationship and the history of Nathan's trouble.
I couldn't feel anything. I thought I was sick.
Both when he was a kid.
Maybe you didn't know when you were 8 years old, but you sure as hell knew this time around.
And then when it returned in adulthood.
Instead of ignoring me, how about a little fatherly advice?
You haven't listened to anything I've had to say since you were a little kid.
Back on the boat, the chatty poker guy is very good at poker. His buddy is like quieter and like kind of oddly brooding in the corner. Duke is very perplexed by the poker skill situation happening. Below deck, Audrey and Howard are still locked in there, so Howard continues to grill her about the troubles and her cover-ups in the police reports. Next, Duke and Julia get locked below deck, but in a different part. I don't really know much about boats. They're in the unders. The poker guys start to take the boat out to sea. At the station, Nathan is starting to get worried about Audrey being MIA and not showing up to work. Audrey puts her phone in a jar and chucks it out the window of the boat to get a text to send as it floats closer to shore. I'm not sure if this would work, but I certainly enjoy it as a concept. It's really fun. Julia is not amused about the situation that's happening, so Duke explains that the poker guys are probably after a box that Duke is smuggling because he's a smuggler.
I buy things. I sell things. Sometimes I just deliver.
He claims he doesn't know what's in the box, though. Julia throws a little bit of shade at Duke's profession because it's what got them into the situation, which is kind of fair. We return to Howard and Audrey, who is explaining that they call the people in the town who are different
The afflicted, the cursed, the troubled.
Audrey's text thing in the jar actually works, and Nathan gets the text. Fun! Another random crack forms, but this time on the boat, which then starts to leak. I noticed how different Duke's boat set looks compared to later seasons, and then remembered hearing something about actual boat that they used to film for real sinking, and so then they had to build a set later. It's very Haven. The actual boat sunk, and they had to build a set. That is so sad. Poor Duke's boat. Back at the station, the chief talks Nathan down from heading out and just scouring the ocean to find/save Audrey. Our man is just ready. He's gonna swim out there to find her if he has to. I love him. Julia continues to roast Duke.
Turns out you're just a petty crook.
No, I'm an exceptional crook.
Before he uses some boat knowledge to diagnose that it's leaking. He knows his boat. He can feel it.
My boat is leaking. If somebody doesn't fix it, we sink.
The chatty poker guy says he's trying to think like Duke to find the box, but it's not working. With Howard, Audrey is advocating for her skills to solve the troubles so that she can convince him to let her stay in Haven. Poker guys are now beating up Duke to find the box. He's unfazed, though.
What box?
Could not care less.
But thanks for asking.
Chatty guy then does like some mind reading magic and finds where Duke's been hiding the box. So they've got the box now. Audrey has escaped below deck though and contacts Nathan with the radio. Nathan provides some info on the chatty poker guy, whose name is Ezra apparently, and his trouble is the ability to know what you're thinking before you think it.
It's like he can anticipate what you're gonna think before you think it.
Very strange stuff. Back at the station again, the chief and Nathan's father-son relationship is really, it's not doing so hot.
So just like that, you want me to look at the last 30 years and just let bygones be bygones?
We're never going to get along, are we?
They mention Nathan's mother.
No, don't bring her into this.
Why shouldn't I bring her into this? She's your mother. We both miss her.
I said don't.
And that she's dead.
If she were alive today, that she'd be able to fix us?
I guess we'll sort of put her on here. She was mentioned. That's what I've got for now. I don't know. The rest of this scene, just really heartbreaking, to be honest.
Selfish bitch. Died. Left you alone with your idiot son.
Once again, I love Nathan Warnos. I love him.
You did your best, which meant ignoring him until he stopped looking your way for much of anything. Well, that's what you wanted. You know what, Chief? That's what you got.
Sorry, Nathan.
Ezra is having trouble with his trouble. On the boat, he's having trouble with his trouble. Yeah. Audrey gets to Duke and unties him, and then she says that she has a plan, which leads to some great chaos. Iconic chaos, even. Audrey gives Duke an earpiece and directs him on what to do, which essentially lends Ezra's trouble useless, because it's not Duke thinking about what he's doing, it's Audrey thinking about what she's going to make Duke do.
I never ate cottage cheese.
I've eaten cottage cheese.
It's great. It's good fun. The two eventually overpower the Poker Boys, and all is swell again. Everyone returns to dry land. Nathan is happy to see Audrey.
Glad to see you didn't get shot or beat up or drowned.
All in a day's work.
Howard is still not super happy with her though. Julia pieces out after the whole ordeal. Fair. Audrey tells Howard that answers about who she is are in Haven, not the FBI, and that she quits the FBI.
I quit.
So slay for her. Duke seems to get kind of sad about being in his line of work. That's not really followed through, but he's sad about it at the moment, I guess. Howard meets up with the chief and we discover that they have been conspiring together to keep Audrey in Haven.
I needed her.
They mention the crack on the boat. It's all very sus vibes. Episode 12 is titled Resurfacing, and it opens up with a skeleton doing just that in a washed up, wrecked boat on the beach. Nathan and now officially Haven Police Detective Parker rock up at the scene.
What, do you miss the FBI already?
No.
We then see a woman dropping some familial exposition. Her keys get randomly thrown across the room. That's all we need to know from that. Some more ghostly stuff happens later with them, and a woman gets like full thrown across the room. Ghost stuff is happening to this family. Nathan and Audrey question the woman about the skeleton discovered and the strange phenomena at her house.
You were the one talking about dead pirates.
I mean, around here, you never know.
It's revealed that Duke and Nathan were in Little League together, which is adorable.
You and Duke were in Little League?
So cute. Duke is up to some nefarious activities before being sprung by Nathan. Duke then asks Nathan for help not getting killed by some guys that think he stole from them. Nathan says yes, just so that Duke will help out with the case in return. Nathan also brings up a time where Duke was actually really horrible to Nathan when they were kids.
Do we have to do this right now?
Yep.
And pulled a super sad prank on him.
I told you that Carla Rose had a crush on you.
I felt like I won the lottery.
It's overall a great scene though.
Y'all slapped me on the back. Remember that? Go talk to her, talk to her. She screamed. Screamed because there was blood dripping down my back.
The tax that we stuck in it.
When you were congratulating me. You had a pool going on how many you guys could stick in my back before I noticed?
16.
16.
It's really good when we get to see them talk about the history of their relationship because they've been friends since they were kids.
It wasn't for me. You never would have even talked to her.
I didn't talk to another girl for 2 years after that.
But Duke, that's real sad to do to little Nathan. That's real sad.
I was 8 years old.
So was I.
The two continue to engage in shenanigans to get Duke out of trouble. Elsewhere, Audrey discovers that the trouble they're dealing with is kind of wild. It involves a man shaking/vibrating so fast that he goes invisible. The trouble dude thinks that Audrey is Lucy as well. It's a common mistake in Haven, apparently. Back with our favourite boys, Duke apologises to Nathan for the thumbtack prank.
I'm sorry about the tax.
From when they were 8. They were 8 and he did that to him. That's growth right there though. Yay, Duke. Back with the case of the week, so he's no longer invisible when she touches him. How interesting. You could say that it's sort of like how Nathan is numb to everything except Audrey's touch. You could say that that's similar. You could. Audrey finds out that Lucy helped this invisible troubled guy 27 years ago as well. He tells her that when she was helping him, she cut her foot real bad.
The glass, it cut her deep on the sole of her foot.
Might seem weird to mention, but it is important. Duke and Nathan are at the Gull, acting like a couple of old buddies. We love to see it. The troubled man's wife asks Audrey why she can see and touch her husband when she can't. Audrey says she doesn't know. Because she doesn't know. Yet. She doesn't know yet. This prompts Audrey to head to the spot where the Colorado Kid picture was taken. And then this brings us back to the Lucy foot story that I promised was important. She looks at the bottom of her own foot and sees a big old scar in the place where our invisible man said Lucy cut her foot open, helping him. I remember first watching this episode and being so wildly confused. It's quite fun in hindsight that this seemed like the craziest and weirdest that things could get, because it's not. Episode 13, Spiral, is our season 1 finale, and oh boy, it's a big one. It opens with Audrey sitting in her feels at the Colorado Kid murder site. Then we see, surprise, another random old white dude. He's recently left prison and has now arrived in Haven. He then wanders over to Audrey, overhearing her talking to herself. He gives her a weird pep talk and explains he's from Haven originally. Next, he hits up Dave at the Herald, and the two also clearly have history. Dave calls him Max, so I guess his name is Max. It's also insinuated that Max is a real bad, scary dude. Next, Max hits up the Chief at the Gull, and tensions are high between the two. Chief is responsible for putting him in prison, and the two are really not big fans of each other. After this heated encounter between the two of them, the lighthouse cracks and collapses. It's done. This poor lighthouse also gets put through the ringer. for the rest of the series. Like, it cannot catch a break, this lighthouse. Audrey and Nathan are now connecting the dots between all the weird cracks we've been seeing since the show's opening. They're back. The cracks are back, and we're addressing them. Audrey is distracted though because of the weird Lucy foot scar stuff. Nathan tells her to just go home and chill out and don't worry about the cracks, he's gonna sort the cracks out. We catch up with Max again and he's chilling on Duke's boat. He threatens Duke a little and then we learn that he was put in prison for murdering a family 25 years ago. Oof, Max, the two start to like square up a little bit, but then Duke sees his death premonition tattoo on Max's arm, which understandably spooks him a little bit. That's a little bit spooky for Duke right here. Things de-escalate, and Max says he'll be seeing Duke soon. Back at the station, Nathan walks into a very sad-looking chief's office and just gets roasted by his dad. Chief, come on, we had progress. Nathan notices that his dad's got a file on Max open, just sitting on his desk, and Nathan's all like, oh my god, is he out of jail? The chief just brushes Nathan off. Now Max is back at the Gull, and Audrey goes to talk to him after learning that he has Duke's death tattoo. Max is unhelpful and gets coffee poured on his arm and has zero noticeable reaction.
Good thing they serve cold coffee here.
Audrey just accuses him of killing the Colorado kid just because of his tattoo, which I guess, yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of people in Haven, so that's kind of fair. Later, the waitress at the Gull says she's worried about Max suing them because the coffee she poured on him was actually scalding hot.
The pot was scalding hot and he didn't feel it.
Audrey realizes that Max not feeling the burning coffee is awful similar to our good friend Nathan and his lack of feeling.
He didn't feel.
Not loving the implications. Not loving them. Speaking of our boy, he is out measuring one of the strange cracks. It's somehow just very cute and wholesome. I just love Nathan, I think. I think that's what it is. Now Nathan finds Max chilling in his car. The blue Bronco, of course. Max is hitting up everyone in town. My god. Nathan questions what he's doing in his car.
No flinching. I knew I'd like you.
I'm flattered. Who are you?
Before recognizing him as the murderer from 20 years ago, Max Hansen. So his name's Max Hansen. And he murdered people over 20 years ago. And now he's out of prison. Max grabs Nathan's shoulder really strangely and then seems to squeeze it super hard, which is a fun and normal thing to do to someone. Nathan doesn't feel it, obviously, but pulls his gun and tells Max to leave anyway. Max remarks that Nathan can't feel before being cryptic and then finally leaving. What is going on? What is going on? We hear some more stories about Max not feeling things when Duke and Audrey continue investigating. They also discover that apparently Max is in town trying to track down some long-lost family. The connections. Are we making them yet? They're not ideal. Next on Max's Back in Town tour, he confronts Vince and talks about a family being stolen from him by the chief. Everyone in town wants Max to just get out. Get out of Haven. Duke and Audrey talk about telling Nathan their Max theory that they've got going on. Duke tries to get Audrey to open up about her own issues, but she says she has to talk to Nathan first. Audrey tells Nathan that she knows Max can't feel anything. She spells out what this means.
You have the same affliction, which probably means that you're
related.
Nathan storms into the chief's office to ask, "Excuse me, Dad?" The chief tells him that Max is actually his biological father.
Max Hansen's your father.
Super fun and casual information to hear. Nathan is understandably pissed about the secrecy and just storms off again.
There are so many things you don't tell me, secrets you don't trust me with. Why should one more surprise me?
I'm sorry, Nathan. I'm sorry that this is happening to you. The chief continues to tell Audrey that he adopted Nathan when Max went to prison and that Max was abusive to Nathan and his mother.
The way he treated Nathan's mother, the way he treated that little boy, I should have killed him then.
This is sad. This is real sad. Later, Max is staunching down a street in Haven when a big old crack opens up beneath him, killing him. we'll put him on Nathan's tree now. I mean, here. He is dead, but we'll put him on there. Because this was a lot. This is a revelation. He is Nathan's dad. Second dad? Nathan has 2 dads. That's nice. Max over here. He's got the blue dad line, but the black name text meaning that he's dead now. Thanks, Max. You were here for a minute, and you were weird the whole time. Nathan is sort of emotionally shut down at this point, and now thinks that maybe Duke is causing the cracks that killed his newly discovered biological father. Audrey and Nathan go to visit Duke.
I'm terrified. Why do you ask?
Duke's thrilled that the guy with the death tattoo is now dead, because that means that he can't kill him.
That is outstanding. All right.
They tell Duke more about the crack that killed Max.
He was swallowed by a crack in the ground. Yes. Yes.
And Duke explains that he can't cause such phenomena. He's like, no, I can't. That's not in my skill set, actually.
I mean, if I could do that, why am I out here playing Jed Clampett with a shotgun in my lap?
Nathan once again storms off. He's going through a lot, though, to be fair. He's allowed to storm off out of scenes. That's okay. Audrey points out to Duke that someone else with a tattoo might still kill him just to share the misery. Like, don't get too happy, Duke. Like, you could still get killed by someone else with that tattoo. So don't get too happy about it.
You really are a buzzkill.
The chief shows up at the Herald looking very disheveled. He tells Vince and Dave that Nathan found out that Max is his father. So Vince and Dave also knew that, and that's also information that they didn't share with anyone that would have appreciated knowing it. Thanks, Vince and Dave, once again. The chief worries that Nathan will side with Max. Vince and Dave reassure him that Nathan, he's not going to be down for Max, despite whatever tension is going on here. So that's nice of them. Duke gets a lead about the death tattoo from Julia, who was also still here this episode. She kind of showed back up. She's not important again later, but she's here for right now, and she gives Duke a little sprinkle of some info on the death tattoo. Next, Nathan and Audrey run into Vince and Dave at the Gull. Nathan is really not keen on chatting.
I spoke to your father.
Which one?
They discover that the chief is responsible for the cracks.
I found a chasm in the ground near where he goes hunting.
Hanson was swallowed up by a crack.
It's the chief. As always, the chief.
We get a really great scene between Nathan and Audrey discussing what this means for the chief and their relationship.
So what?
So you could work it out with your father. But you guys are both so stubborn, you haven't sorted it out yet.
Audrey schools Nathan on how he should appreciate his family.
Listen, I know you're angry. I know that you hate him, and maybe you don't even share the same DNA, but Nathan, listen to me. He is your father.
The chief,
No,
you mean?
your father.
You
When
mean
we
the-
find him.
Fair, but also lots of trauma is happening to my guy right now. Like, it's a nice lesson, maybe cool it just a touch. Duke and Julia are at the Haven Cemetery now, and she shows him a bunch of gravestones with the death tattoo symbol engraved on them. This is unsettling news for Duke. Nathan and Audrey find the chief sitting alone on the beach. He opens up about the cracks being his trouble and the damage that he's caused.
Not been easy holding it all together.
He says he's tried everything to make it stop.
I tried drinking. I tried smoking.
Which is a really cool detail if you look back on previous episodes, because you can notice that he randomly starts smoking and Nathan's like unhappy about it because it's like a new thing that he started doing. Then the chief starts to panic about not being able to hold Haven together anymore and the cracks start to form again. He gives Nathan a really beautiful speech and Nathan desperately tries to calm him down.
Stronger than I am. I'm done. I can't be fixed.
Yes, you can.
But Audrey can see there's only one way that this is going to end.
I've just been holding it together for such a long time.
The chief tells Audrey,
Be careful. Not everyone's filled your back.
we've got that piece of information amongst all of the emotional trauma that's happening right now. Then the chief tells Nathan that he loves him.
Love you, son.
And Nathan finally calls him Dad.
Dad.
So much. The chief turns to stone and cracks up into a million pieces of rock. R.I.P. Chief. I loved the chief. I loved the relationship. Anyway, Vince and Dave arrive to help gather up the pieces of the chief to put in an esky. Like, they're just putting they're putting him into an esky. That's the plan. Vince and Dave really clearly know more about the Audrey and Lucy mystery situation, but they continue to not be helpful about it. Nathan is devastated. He blames Audrey for a little bit for not telling his dad it was going to be okay.
He needed to hear that you could help him.
That's really sad. Audrey tries to talk to him, but he tells her to leave. He's going through some stuff today.
You need to leave me alone, please.
Duke has a weird death tattooed chalkboard on his boat now. We never see it again. Nathan finds his dad's badge on the beach and then runs into the Rev at the station to just really put a cherry on top of Nathan's really beyond shitty day. The two have a really tense standoff.
I called my father the chief. I'll be damned if I'm gonna let you fill his seat.
The Rev is a super threatening and creepy dude, especially next season. So despite us not seeing that much of him this season, he's so much next season. Like, too much, actually. Finally, Nathan goes to find Audrey, and he tells her that the Rev wants control of the town now that the chief is dead. Audrey says that it's Nathan's turn to keep the town together now.
My dad was holding it all together.
That's your job now.
Nathan apologizes for shutting her out earlier.
I'm sorry I shut you out.
You're the one person that I can absolutely trust.
Audrey grabs Nathan's hand and he gets startled. She asks him what's wrong and he tells her that he can feel her.
I can feel you.
He said it. He said it. I heard the actors actually talk about this scene and how it was written to be a kiss at first.
I fought pretty hard, actually, just to hold your hand.
But they thought that didn't feel right for the characters yet, and it would take away from the moment.
Like, I think it would be way more powerful if I reach over and hold your hand.
And what that meant to the story. And I think that's super nice. And I'm really glad they changed it.
And they were like, no, I don't know. But then they ended up keeping it like that, and we didn't.
Right.
And I was like, I think that's stronger.
I think if it was a kiss, it would have been too much, it would have been too quick, and it would have taken away that moment of shock. Tiny little moment of contact, and he's so startled by it. I love it. I'm so glad it's not a kiss. I love them together, but I'm really glad that this isn't a kiss. Audrey realizes that Nathan being able to feel her is another connection to her new theory about Lucy, which she now reveals to Nathan.
I am Lucy.
He's a little bit doubtful about it, but she reminds him what show they're in.
Whatever this is, it's possible.
He sort of comes around to the idea of it just a little bit, just for now. Then a woman rocks up who says she's FBI, and we get a replay of the pilot episode.
Haven PD, who are you?
I said I'm FBI.
Haven PD, who are you?
FBI, are you deaf?
What am I gonna do? Pull out another gun?
Okay, what am I gonna do? Pull out another gun?
This woman explains that she is Agent Audrey Parker and asks who the hell our Audrey is.
Who the hell are you?
What a horrible day for everyone in Haven. But that is the end of season 1. That's it. So this is where everyone's trees are at the end of the season. Lucy here in brown font and a brown line, which I think is going to be representative of past lives, because that's what we think is happening right now. On Nathan's tree, we have the chief, who is now, his name is now in black text because he's no longer with us. Same thing with his mum, who I'm pretty sure we never get a name for either. So she's Mrs. Warnos. And then we've got Max, whose name is also black because he's also dead. Everyone except Nathan on his tree is dead. That's fun for Nathan. We've got Duke's tree, which is also sad because it's just Duke and then Helena, who I don't know how that DNA works because Helena is like a supernatural being that Beatty turns into every now and then. So she is the mother of Jean, who is Duke's little baby daughter. That's where they're at the end of season 1. So I figured at the end of each part, I should rank my top 3 episodes. Number 3, we have the pilot, Welcome to Haven. The pilot is just so iconic. It does a really good job of setting the tone and the balance of humor and drama and sci-fi weirdness. Like, it does it all in one really well. It also introduces our characters really efficiently, but also leaves like plenty of mystery about them and their relationships, and we want to see more right out the gate. Number 2, I have The Trial of Audrey Parker, which is episode 11. It's not as tight of an episode, like plot-wise, but it is really well balanced, just like the pilot. Audrey comes to terms with her ability to help with the troubles. Duke reaps some consequences for his life choices as a criminal. And probably my favourite part of the episode is the scenes between Nathan and the Chief. It's so good. But of course, we also get some great humour with Audrey and Duke towards the end of the episode. And the set on Duke's boat is just always so fun and immersive. I love it. Duke's boat. I think it's called the Cape Rouge. I don't know if I'll ever need to mention that again. But it's the Cape Rouge. And we love her. Now, my top episode for season 1 is probably unsurprisingly Spiral. It's the finale. It's episode 13, and it's so good. Everything just gets tied up, like, perfectly. Haven knows how to do a season finale. Like, they really do. So much character payoff, heaps of revelations, lots of heartbreak, some humour, and a big old plot twist and cliffhanger for the end of the episode. I'm surprised on every rewatch how much the arc of Nathan and the Chief, how much it actually upsets me.
I'm not gonna live forever.
I'm not like you. I don't want to be like you.
I know you hate me now. Max Hansen's your father. The way he treated that little boy, I should have killed him then. But there's gonna come a day when you're gonna wish you'd just taken the chance to make nice with your old man.
Dad.
This episode is the climax of that, and it just hits me every time, and I'm never ready for it. Also, Nathan telling Audrey that he can feel her, it gets me every time, too. It's so exciting. As a final bonus for me to end each season, I thought I would award one character per season the title of Most Traumatized. Most Traumatized, I think, is the best title for it. So this season, our most traumatized character has got to be Mr. Nathan Warnos. It's mostly because of all the dad drama, and even me just saying that, it doesn't narrow any of it down. Like, I could be talking about so many different things.
Who are you? Max Hansen's your father.
Dad.
That is so traumatic to go through all those revelations and then have 2 dads die in one day. You're adopted. Your father is a criminal that killed a family 20 years ago. Very traumatizing. And then the dad that adopted and raised and loved him, though complicated in his affection and their relationship, then he just dies that afternoon. Also discovering that there is a whole, like, just one singular person whose touch you can feel. Nathan is our most traumatized character for season 1 by a landslide. I'm sorry, Nathan. So that finishes up my unnecessarily extensive recap and breakdown of Syfy's Haven season 1. Stick around for season 2, because shit gets even more Haven.